Welcome to Soccer in 60, presented by the Empire Strykers. Get ready for your weekly look at all the pro soccer teams in Greater Los Angeles. We've got all the news and analysis you need, from LAFC and the LA Galaxy to the Empire Strykers, Angel City FC, and Orange County Soccer Club. Now, buckle up and enjoy Soccer in 60.
Welcome indeed to the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. Yes, this is Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System, covering all the week's news, highlights, and more from LAFC, the Los Angeles Galaxy, Angel City FC, Orange County Soccer Club, and of course, the Major Arena Soccer League's very own Empire Strykers. Hello and welcome. I'm your host, J.R. Liebert, known affectionately as the Scarf around these parts, but we've got a fearsome foursome on the show tonight. First, and of course, our good friend, the man, the myth, the Timmy K, Tim Kolotz. Tim, welcome.
JR, my fine feathered friend, and my other colleagues today. I'm happy to be here, and I couldn't be happier today, man. I'm feeling good, feeling motivated, getting after it on Soccer in 60 today, boys.
Oh, it's a good day, that's for sure. And we welcome back our friends from La Cuna Galaxiana podcast, Rob and Ananda. Guys, welcome back once again.
Thanks for having us. The fearsome foursome. Let's get
Absolutely. No, it's going to be a great show. We have a fantastic interview with the NISA Commissioner, Chandler Hoffman, ex-UCLA Bruin, Galaxy, Orange County Soccer Club. He pretty much did everything in a fantastic career. Lots and lots to talk about, that's for sure. It's been a really fun week all around SoCal. Lots to talk about. The goal streak has now ended for Denis and Sonny. Other people can, in fact, score for LAFC. Not so sure that's the case in Angel City World or in Orange County this week. It's been a rough one, but we got a lot to talk about, that's for sure. Want to mention our good friends over at Omnitrans in partnership with the Empire Strykers. Experience the thrill of game day with Omnitrans. Be in the heart of the action at Toyota Arena and let Omnitrans take care of the ride. Simply download the Transit app to catch your bus and enjoy a stress-free trip to cheer on the Strykers. Don't miss out on the excitement and make every moment count at Toyota Arena. Ride with Omnitrans to your next Empire Strykers match. Let's head on over down to Carson. The Los Angeles Galaxy, their last match, unfortunately, a 2-1 loss to Dallas in Dallas. Started out well for the Galaxy, though. Diego Fagundes knocking on the door of history now. 79 goals, 79 assists. I mean, the kid was literally playing in Major League Soccer when he was 15 years old, and he's about to become one of the only 4 MLS players with 80 and 80. Started out well. Rob, I'll bring you in first to talk about the start of this match. You get one in the 4th minute. You're thinking, all right, this is how we get things going.
No. I immediately thought they scored too early. They've scored too early. They haven't been great at holding leads so far this year. Evidence just one game before that against Toluca, where they had their hearts broken. They started well in that one as well. Got a goal a little bit later than 4 minutes, but yeah, I mean, 4 minutes in, I was like, there's still a lot of game left. This team can find any number of ways to throw the seat away.
Yeah, and they definitely found a way. And by the way, you guys can tell I'm recording here live from BMO Stadium. That was fun in the background there. We were joking pre-show. I am not in an actual broom closet, but it's close. Look, the unfortunate part, like you said, Rob, and I'll bring in Ananda for this part, losing a lead has been one of the themes of the season for Galaxy this year. And 2 unanswered before halftime for Dallas. Ananda, what does that do coming out of the second half? I mean, was that as deflating as it seemed when I was watching the match on television?
Yeah, I think I said this last time when I was on with you guys, Scarf, which is the Galaxy have an MO of just giving up silly goals in the most inopportune times, whether that's after a howler, after defensive howler in San Diego in the last, minutes of the game, or whether that's blowing a 2-1 lead and again leaving it late to let Philadelphia, the winners of the Supporters Shield this year, get 3 points, at home at their place. So, I mean, and the stats are not good. You guys know I'm the stats guy in La Cuna Galaxiana. Scarf, the Galaxy are 5-4-1 when scoring first in 2025. That's 14 points loss from winning positions when they score first, on top of allowing the opposition to score first 22 times in 2025. Those are recipes for absolute disaster, which is the 2025 LA Galaxy.
Yeah, that's what my takeaway was from your stat too. It's they've only scored first in 10 of those matches. That's been a rough season for sure. Let me ask you guys too real quick. You can both weigh in on this. JT Marcinkowski between the pipes instead of Mitrovic. Your thoughts? 2 saves. He made a nice one in the second half, but just 3 regular season appearances all year. They've all come since August 23rd. They talked about it being Mitrovic's job, but yet here we see towards the end of the season, Greg Vanney starting to use JT. Is that causing a problem for the Galaxy?
And you want to go? Because I think you might be a little different on this one.
Well, it's interesting. I just don't think I'm going to speak like in a position of Greg. I don't think he's convinced with Mitrovic. I think what we've seen with Mitrovic is he's a talented keeper, but I made this point on our podcast last week, which is with John McCarthy, we had a championship winning keeper. We had a keeper that had the mentality and the know-how to win games and make the important decisions in those important moments. You saw against Toluca in those last, couple phases of play, when you wanted your keeper to be commanding in the box, he was not, unfortunately. And I think he could have been to blame on some of those decisions. So I just think Greg is unconvinced. And he's like, you know what? Let me see what a more experienced guy has. Maybe he can make winning plays or winning decisions. So I think I'm looking at it from that perspective. Are you on the opposite side?
I am.
Okay.
You know what? I think Greg's just seeing what he has. I mean, let's be honest. And you were there with me at the CVI when Greg said, I've wanted to make Mitrovic my keeper since last year. He's been high on Mitrovic for a couple of years. Like, that's his guy. He's been wanting to make Mitrovic his keeper. It's now there. Mitrovic has performed, decent enough to have the job be his. And in regards to Jason Marcinkowski, let's face it, he's an asset. I mean, he's a starting level goalkeeper in MLS. The Galaxy don't have a lot of assets right now, so he's an asset that they can flip for a decent amount of money. So I wouldn't read too much into it. Like I think that Mitrovic is still Greg's guy, unless a diamond in the rough goalkeeper situation pops up. Expect Mitrovic to be between the 6 next year.
All right, we have just about a minute left on Galaxy Talk. Let me get all 3 of your takes, Tim, Ananda, Rob. For the first time, Galaxy actually have control over whether they finish last in the wooden spoon race or not. 1-word answers, Tim, Ananda, Rob. Tim, will Galaxy finish last?
Yep.
Oh, Ananda.
Yep.
And Rob.
No.
Oh, I like it. Okay. We'll have to see what happens. That's for sure. We do have a fantastic interview, by the way, coming up with Chandler Hoffman. Chandler, the ex-UCLA Bruin, like we mentioned, former Galaxy player, amongst other clubs in MLS, and now the commissioner of the Third Division Soccer League, NISA, the National Independent Soccer Association. It's not every day that we can say we get to interview commissioners here on Soccer in 60. One of the reasons why this really is the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. Absolutely fantastic. And Chandler Hoffman talked about everything in this interview. Let's send it on over to this interview with Chandler Hoffman.
Here on Soccer in 60, we love to showcase guests with a special connection to Greater LA Pro Soccer. Today, we're talking to a man who, while hailing from Alabama, started UCLA and honed his craft with the storied Orange County Blue Star before spending time with the LA Galaxy organization and multiple MLS and USL outfits, including Orange County Soccer Club. After staying local and finishing out his career with LA Force of the National Independent Soccer Association, he is now the commissioner of that very same NISA. But right now, he's here with us. Welcome to the show, Mr. Chandler Hoffman.
Thanks, Philly. I need to bring you around me to intro me at places.
Take a number. I've been asked to do that quite a bit. I think Bradley Wright Phillips is up next for me following him around, giving him a walking
There you
intro.
go. I love that.
Chandler, obviously we want to talk to you about the teams that we cover here on Soccer in 60 that you also played for. So if you don't mind, let's start with the LA Galaxy. Now, After signing a Generation Adidas contract with MLS and first joining the Philadelphia Union, the current Supporters Shield champions, you were with the Galaxy in 13 and 14 alongside such little-known players like Landon Donovan and Robbie Keane, Omar Gonzalez, friend of the show, Marcelo Sarvas, Jassi Zardes. What was it like training and sharing a locker room with these guys?
Well, I'll even go back a little bit before that. My time at UCLA, we had Kenny Arena as the assistant coach at the time.
Wow.
So a couple players, Andy Rose, Kellen Rowe, we would go and train with the Galaxy in the summer. And so being a kid from Alabama and then just a year later finishing crosses from David Beckham at training, it was quite a whirlwind of time. But then coming into the draft, I was always hopeful that I could end up with the Galaxy. I loved the organization, wanted to be a part of it. So when I got that opportunity and the trade happened in the beginning of the 2013 season, I was ecstatic. And like you're saying, those players and the level of the trainings was so high. It was great players, great opportunity to learn from guys like Robbie Keane, Landon Donovan, and then Giassi in his prime. It was a really fun time.
Those are pinch me moments. I'm getting goosebumps just thinking about finishing across from David Beckham. Heck, just being in the same room, for Christ's sake. Let's fast forward to the present. The Galaxy is experiencing, well, a remarkable season during which, they've gone from winning MLS Cup to fighting to get rid of the wooden spoon. We've asked this of a lot of people, and everyone seems to be a bit dumbfounded. You being a former pro player, you ever been in a similar situation? And do you have a sense of what might have happened down in Carson? Maybe in terms of player confidence, perhaps team dynamics?
Yeah, when I look back at my career and try and like pinpoint where things went through a rough spell, or in their case, like at the beginning of the year, it's like nothing could go right. It was like if they were in a tight game, they were going to find a way to drop points. But confidence is a huge piece of it. And I think it kind of builds on itself. It's kind of like that snowball effect. That 2014 year, it was like no matter what the place we were going into, whether we were home or away, we knew we were going to pick up points. We knew we were going to get a result. There was just that resolve and belief within the group. And I think going into the season, there was so much expectation and hype. Obviously, they lost a huge piece of their team in the Western Conference Finals last year. But still, there was high expectations within the group. And then when things started going bad, it just seemed like it spiraled out of control, and it happened quickly. So I don't have like an exact answer, but I do think that confidence plays a big part. And then when things start going bad, it can just kind of play off that and just keep going downhill.
That makes sense. And speaking of confidence, before I ask one more Galaxy question, I had to say real quick, I was accidentally muted earlier when Philly talked about converting across from David Beckham. I was trying to get in there to say, but you wouldn't finish it, but I didn't get a chance to get in there. But speaking of Beckham, yeah, you're welcome anytime. Now, last season with Ricky Puig in the lineup, Gabriel Pec and Joseph Paintsil absolutely tore it up, obviously, for the Galaxy. With Ricky out injured this season, almost the entire season, or all of this season, 2025. Both of those players struggled mightily until just recently showing some of the form that we came to expect in 2024. Paintsil especially has had some excellent performances of late. Given you played as a forward, would you mind explaining to our audience a little bit what can happen to someone in that forward position when they suddenly lose that midfield orchestrator and go a few games without scoring?
Yeah, Ricky last year was unbelievable. Like his ability to create space, cause problems for the defenders, find those little half spaces between the midfield and the back line. So dynamic on the dribble. As a forward, he's a dream to play with because the other team is constantly worried about him. And so you're able to make these little movements to find space in behind or slip off. And the defenders have to step to him or have to be aware of him because he's going to create something or score or do something positive. And so when you take a player like that is so high level and so creative, as a forward, it's challenging. And I made a living of making smart movements in the box and finishing. I wasn't one to really get the ball and create. So if I lost a player that was like my 10 that could find me and cause problems for the back line. It was frustrating, and it's hard if you don't get service or you're not getting the ball in dangerous positions, or you have to create for yourself when you're a player that likes to finish. So losing him has obviously played a big adjustment. What I love about the forward position is there's so many different types of players. Obviously, Paintsil is very athletic, pacey, can get in behind. Pec is creative. He's got pace as well, but a little bit more like shifty in his movements. So it's really been fun to see them kind of come along as the season's gone on. But obviously, the beginning of the year was a struggle missing Ricky, and him coming back will be a big piece of who they are.
Now, we mentioned you also played for Orange County Soccer Club, one of the teams we cover here, a little bit later in your career. In fact, you joined the team on loan in 2020, which, in case anyone was living under a rock at that time, was the height of the COVID pandemic. Talk to us a little bit about what that was like, joining the club from your hometown where you'd been playing for Birmingham Legion at the time, and coming into just a highly unusual situation. That couldn't have been easy for you.
Yeah, that whole year was very interesting. Obviously, going into COVID with all the different rules and regulations, the lack of fans that could come to the game. It was just very interesting. And like when I came from Birmingham to Orange County, there was like a 2-week period where I couldn't even train with the team. I had to do things on my own. So it was just like a weird dynamic. And I was coming back off of an injury to my PCL. And so I just physically didn't feel like myself. And so it took a little bit to get into it. And then the last game of the year finished with a hat trick. But it was a fun time. I loved being in Orange County, but just didn't feel like I was at my physical like peak that I wanted to be at when I was there.
Now, one thing, obviously you were not young when you came. You're still young now, but you weren't for a player. As far as
much younger than us, Gunner. Come on.
As far as pro players go, you weren't 18 or 19. But speaking of that, Orange County is famous for its ability to take in really talented youth players, kind of mold them into very good professionals, and then move them onto either MLS or that higher level, Europe. Given that you spent some time with Orange County, even though it wasn't that long, what are some things in the day-to-day, so let's say club culture, training sessions, the approach to games, all that stuff, that you feel makes that club so good at attracting and then developing some of the top talent in the country?
I think they've done a good job of giving the players opportunities, specifically kind of balancing it out of having some players that are a little older and experienced that can help bring the guys along. It's not just like all 16 to 20-year-old players. You have some players that are a little older and can kind of guide them, that have been through it. But then also just putting the players in an environment. I know when I was there, they had different partnerships and they were sending players overseas in the off season so that they could get more experience. So I think just kind of creating that pathway and avenue for players to develop is so important, and pushing the players out of their comfort zone. When they're 16, 17, having to go against grown men who are doing it for their livelihood is very different than playing in like an academy game or something like that. So I think that's one thing that they've done well. And now players see the track record that they have had, players that have gone on and that they've sold and gone to Europe or are now playing in MLS. So I think that's the biggest thing.
Well, let's talk about Orange County Soccer Club on the field. After seeming to find their groove not too long ago, they've just been going through a difficult stretch, 8 games without a win. Since you've been around the block at the highest tier of the USL, including scoring a boatload of goals for the likes of Louisville City and Real Monarchs, you obviously know how to have success at that level. I got to ask you personally, what is it about the USL Championship that makes it so difficult for any team to maintain a strong run of form and keep winning? Are there any insights you can share on that?
I think the biggest thing is you need your group to have that belief, like we discussed earlier with the Galaxy. But then obviously it's a long season. There's going to be injuries or issues that come up. Being able to have guys that can step in and really make a difference when their number's called, I think that's so important. And then the challenge too is with some teams that go primarily young or really want to get these young players experience, the young players stepping up, which isn't always the case. Sometimes you have players that when they get their opportunity, they're not ready or they struggle. And so the USL Championship, it's a very physical league now. It's very athletic, and you have to be ready. There's not really games that you can just walk on the field and win. So I think that's the biggest thing, is having your players 1 through 11 competing, ready to go, and then these players that are stepping in and getting the opportunity that they're ready, that the level can't drop.
Mm-hmm. Now let's to wrap up. Couple more questions for you. Let's transition slightly. We mentioned in the intro that you are the new commissioner of NISA. First of all, congratulations on that. The National Independent Soccer Association, the third tier of competitive soccer in the U.S., and also the level at which you played while you were with the LA Force toward the end of your career. You just accepted the position back in July, if I'm not mistaken. If you don't mind, talk to us about how that opportunity came about and what made you feel like this is something you should say yes to. It's a big responsibility. Why did this appeal to you?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I played for LA Force, which Bob Friedland is the owner of LA Force, and he's now become the chairman of the league. And so we've stayed in contact over the years. And as the transition happened with the previous leadership team, he had reached out to me asking about my interest in coming on as commissioner. And honestly, it wasn't on my radar until he brought it up. But for me, it was an exciting opportunity to kind of have a fingerprint in the professional soccer landscape, especially my dog's excited about that.
He's a big supporter, apparently.
Right.
Yeah.
But for me, it was to have the opportunity to have a fingerprint in the professional soccer landscape, provide opportunities for players like we were discussing with Orange County producing young players and giving them opportunity. For me, a huge piece is providing opportunities for players, coaches, communities, owners that would not exist if NISA wasn't around. And so there's so many, the U.S. is huge. We know that there's so many different communities where there isn't professional soccer in a driving distance. And so it's like finding these communities and owners that are interested in bringing soccer to their community and the players to have an opportunity to play at the professional level. So for me, it was to be able to have that sort of impact. And I look back being from Birmingham, Alabama, one thing that I think is cool now we've seen, at the time I was the first player drafted in first round of MLS. Now we've seen players like Chris Richards playing in the EPL from Birmingham. We've seen Tanner Tessman, who captained the Olympics. And so seeing an article back, I want to say like 21 or 22, Chris Richards commented how I kind of blazed the trail for him and like gave him belief that anything was possible. And so to be able to have that impact in Alabama, and then now in a similar way, be able to have that impact on the Division III pro soccer landscape and just let people see that things are possible. I just really want to continue to move soccer forward in this country. And so this felt like an opportunity for it and a natural step for me.
I think that just gives us the good opportunity for a transition here. Speaking of which, when it comes to what you're doing right now, leading the charge with NISA, the NISA Pro Cup is about to take place in Michigan on October the 13th. I guess that gives us an opportunity to explain to our audience, what's the difference between NISA and then the NISA Pro Cup, and why should people be excited about the Pro Cup?
Yeah, so we got 8 teams that are going to be participating in it. They're all going to be part of our NISA Pro 2026. So we're using the tournament to kind of get everyone together. So it'll be in Michigan. And we're having even the teams that are not playing in it, but they're going to have owners there to help us all get ready on the off days, Tuesdays and Thursdays, for what it's going to look like next year. Some of these teams, it'll be their first time pro. So making sure their game day operations are where they need to be. They're understanding the player contracts, everything like that. So it's to get everyone together. Obviously, it's going to be some great competition out on the field, start building some of those rivalries and get that competition going into 2026. And it'll be where people can watch and kind of see. And we want everyone to see that with this new leadership within NISA, that we're headed in the right direction. We want to do things right. And we want to provide opportunities for players, owners, coaches, and communities.
And real quick, before we let you go, where can the audience tune into the NISA Pro Cup?
Yes, so it is going to be on the Premier Media Group on the National Soccer Network. So it'll be on Roku TV, YouTube, and NISA Plus.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Amazing. Looking forward to that. And congratulations on all the successes you've had from the boardroom to the pitch from Birmingham. You've had quite the journey. We'd love to have you back on at some point down the road. Thank you for your time. And we're looking forward to, further discussions down the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Great talking with you guys and love what you do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chandler. I hope I didn't misgender your dog earlier.
Her name's Winnie. She's a female. So.
She's a female. So I did. So apologies to the dog.
She's right here. I'll tell her that you take it back.
Yeah, I feel bad. Thank you.
And there he is, the commissioner of NISA, getting all kinds of fun details from Chandler Hoffman on this one. Talked about pretty much every aspect of Southern California soccer. So thank you again to Chandler for coming on. And I think Robin and Ananda, are you guys going to stay with us and talk a little LAFC as well?
Yeah, that's the plan, man. We got stuff for you.
We've been hate watching. Don't worry.
I love it. Well, look, it's been a little different these last couple of matches for LAFC. Able to put 2 wins on the board though in this last week. Obviously, I'm here at BMO Stadium. Just finished the match against Toronto. The 2-0 win. No Sonny, no Denise. So that 18-goal streak scored by those two came to an end, courtesy of Jeremy Abobasi and Frankie Amaya. But let's talk about the 1-0 home win over Atlanta United. When Tim, the one thing that was very, very clear was that Atlanta United would have loved to get out of here 0-0. 10 players most of the time in the box, maybe even 11 at times. LAFC having to break down that low block. And Tim, is that something now that we can expect to see from clubs for the rest of the season against LAFC?
I think it's going to be exactly the MO of a lot of these teams because, well, until you get to like a Vancouver or something like that, then Vancouver's just going to do the same thing LAFC does, is just attack. But I think, the Atlanta 18-yard box looked a lot like our best 11 a couple of weeks ago. It looked like there were 12 or 13 guys in that box. I mean, they had no interest in attacking, and the stat line showed it. If you just watch that game, what was it, like 70%? It seemed like possession for LAFC, and I was making my comments in my notes. It wasn't a 4-3-3 that they played; it was an 11-0-0.
Yeah,
right. As far as their lineup went, so I think you're going to see a lot more of that. You're going to see maybe a single striker up on top, but you're going to see a lot of defense going forward over the next 5-6 games for LAFC.
All right, Robin, and I have to ask you, Denis hitting number 99 in his LAFC career. You guys have obviously seen plenty of significant goals, a couple players passing the 99-goal mark with Galaxy. But what does it mean now for Denis? Obviously, he already overtook Carlos Vela a week or two ago. Here he is now ready to become the first LAFC player to get to 100 goals. That's an awfully big number, Rob.
It is a big number. And you know what? I've always kind of been on Team Denis more than Team Charlie, if I have to be honest. And it's a very significant milestone, and it just goes to show you how long he's been kind of putting this team on his back. He's done it again this year with a little help now from Sonny, but the proof is in the numbers. I mean, and Ananda's a stats guy. I mean, I think now it's 3 years running that he's hit 20 plus goals. Someone fact check me on that, but I believe that's 3 years, right?
Yep.
So Ananda said, we've been hate watching, but at a certain point, you also got to applaud your rival for his consistency. And you know what? When your rival's good, it makes you better. It makes you want to push.
Yeah, when both clubs are good, it is the most fun rivalry in Major League Soccer for sure. And honestly, even when they're not, it's the best rivalry game in all of Major League Soccer. I mean, you know what you're going to get. Probably 6 or 7 goals, 6 or 7 yellows. It's going to be a lot of fun. But Ananda, let me ask you, the goal that wasn't scored late in the match, Denis is full speed ahead, and he's sitting on 99. Everybody wants to see 100 at BMO Stadium, and yet he tries to slot that pass over to Sonny. Are there still some things to work out between Sonny and Denis to make sure that the alpha is the alpha, and then whatever we're calling Sonny, if he's Batman, the Superman, I don't know. But is there still something to work out there?
Maybe, but probably just like little things here and there. I mean, look, every time I come on the show, they're always on the best 11. So clearly something is working more often than not. But I think I've had this conversation with you, Scarf, which is if you want to knock Denis on something, it's probably his clinical edge in the final third, whether that's putting the ball in the back of the net or making the right decision and laying it off. And so the interesting thing will be, what will we see in the playoffs when the pressure's on, when you face a really good team, like you're going to see like a San Diego or Vancouver, etc. What do those moments now look like for Denny? That's when he really needs to step up. And that's where, the proof is going to be in the pudding in those moments.
Yeah, it's been an interesting season in those moments for Denis Bouanga for sure, although it's amazing how many of those Sonny cures when he comes on over. Timmy, I got to ask you now, I believe Denis Bouanga is sitting on 38 goals this season for club and country, 30 in all competitions in MLS, and I think he's leading the African World Cup scoring race with 8 goals. What does it mean, Tim, to just be able to put it in the back of the net wherever he's playing, whoever he's playing against? Is this just a charmed year for Denis Bouanga?
I think it's a culmination of the past 4 or 5 years that everything is coming together for him, and it's coming together for him at exactly the right time, not only for club, but also for country. And you mentioned it. He's leading the race in the African, out of the 9 teams that are going to qualify for the World Cup next year. He's got eight goals. And he's playing over the next week or so, and he's got a couple of more games, and so he's definitely going to add to that. And I think that the entire year that he's had has really just come to fruition because he wants to drive his country to their first ever World Cup appearance. And I think it's going to happen. And he's got a great chance to do it in these next couple of games if they can surpass Ivory Coast, because they're only sitting 1 point behind him.
Yeah, what it would mean to the nation of Gabon and obviously to Denis Bouanga, and especially in the year where, and we've kind of forgotten about this, in the year where he lost his best friend, Aaron Bupenza, who was a striker on that Gabonese national team, the former, I believe, FC Cincinnati player. What it would mean for Denis Bouanga to be able to get Gabon to their first World Cup. But like we said, we talked about our first match against Atlanta where Denis got one. Well, we were at BMO Stadium today. It's Wednesday today that we're recording this, and there was no Denis Bouanga, no Sonny walking through that door, and yet LAFC able to escape with their second win of the week. And it was a 2-0, very clinical, very methodical win. And what you had was the UCLA kid, Frankie Amaya, scoring one, and he had not scored one yet in an LAFC shirt. But also Jeremy Ebobisse, the veteran, getting one early on. It almost looked like a Denis Bouanga goal, taking the steal, taking it all the way back out in front. Ananda, let me ask, to get a player like Jeremy Ebobisse going before the playoffs, especially if he can figure out how to do it without many opportunities ahead of him, what does that mean for LAFC's depth as they look for playoff seeding?
Yeah, that's huge. And not just him, Scarf. I'm looking at a guy like David Martinez as well. He had, a couple of clean looks through on goal. But to be honest, man, like not switching gears too much a little bit, but I watched that game and I'm like, how good has Mark Delgado been for you guys? I mean, he just knows when to play the right pass at the right time. I think he's perfect for your counterattacking, bursting with speed in those transition moments. But when you have a guy like that threading it through to players like David Martinez and Ebobisse or whoever is going to be in that front line, I think that is the key. Those are the things that get your transition off and running. And now for a guy like Ebobisse to see the ball hit in the back of the net, we know this about strikers. You just need to see go in once, and maybe the floodgates might open. And so I think it's a good omen for LAFC, that's for sure.
Yeah, and Rob, let me ask you real quick, too, in terms of depth. We saw 2 debuts in match 32 of 34 this season. We got Alexandru Balutza and Jailson, both who looked pretty good. What does it mean that LAFC is able to bring on a couple more players of this quality so late in the season?
They're reinforcing for a potential deep playoff run. It's not bad to have options off the bench. I mean, you mentioned it a couple times. Today was one of those days that LAFC got goals from elsewhere, Ebobisse and Frankie Amaya. But recently, it's been the Denis Bouanga and Sonny show, right? But they're going to need more than that in the playoffs. And so this gives Steve Cherundolo a couple of different options, whether it be bringing in Ebobisse or whether you bring in a couple of these new faces off the bench.
And Tim, we got just about a minute left talking LAFC. Let me ask you, to break that goal streak of 18 straight scored by Denis and Sonny, and to do it rather early, relatively quickly with Jeremy Ebobisse, what does that mean for the confidence of everybody else wearing an LAFC shirt that they can help contribute to this incredible run as we close out the regular season?
Yeah, I added in my notes. It's got to boost up the other 16 guys that are on the team for that weekend, right? I think it's going to do great things, especially for a Bobasi who's not been on top of his game as much, just because he hasn't gotten the minutes and things like that. But I think for guys like him and Frankie Amaya to put his first one in an LAFC shirt, I think it's fantastic for the team, and I think, like Ananda and Rob said, I think it's going to drive them to a deep playoff run.
Yeah, and again, want to say thank you to our friends, Ananda and Rob from the Lacuna Galaxiana podcast. They stayed up extra late to record this one with us, so make sure you guys check out their podcast as well. Rob and Ananda, thank you guys so much for coming on Soccer in 60, our friends.
Adios.
Thanks, boys.
Peace.
All right, let's talk about our good friends over at National Core. National Core is one of the nation's largest nonprofit affordable housing developers and a proud sponsor of your MASL team, the Empire Strykers. At National Core, they believe that soccer has the power to transform lives just like they do. They believe in building strong communities on and off the field. And to learn more about National Core and their mission, head on over to nationalcore.org. All right, let's talk some Empire Strykers. And I promise the sky is not falling, Tim, but another week and another MASL team going to be pulling out of the 2025-2026 season. Although they'll be coming back in just a year, but let's talk about it. This time, Tim, it's the Harrisburg Heat who will be using 2026 to make a move to Hershey Park Arena in Hershey, Pennsylvania. Really good antiquing out there in Hershey, Pennsylvania. And Tim, they'll be back to play in MASL in 2026, 2027. They'll play in MASL 2, this next season. But let me ask you about something I read from the press release first. When are we going to be able to go to this? It said in the press release, in addition, Chocolate World and other venues will be open during the season to offer additional benefits for fans. Tim, when is the Soccer in 60 crew? When are we making our trip out to Hershey Park Arena in Hershey?
I think it needs to be early and often. That's what I think. I'm thinking early January because it'll be a little cold, so none of that chocolate will melt. I think it'll be. I think this is actually a really good thing. There's been a lot of chitter chatter in the each of the social medias that I've been checking out. I tend not to engage too often, but the reality is that Harrisburg said this in their press release. It said because of the direction that the MASL wants to and needs to go, Harrisburg was not ready to meet those standards, and Hershey World is. And so I think for the longevity of the league, I think this is actually a great move. It's a great move for the Hershey Heat, as it were. And, they'll still be called Harrisburg, and that's dandy, but they will be back. They will meet those standards that everybody is going to want and need to continue forth and make MASL an even better league than it is. Now, we know that they're down to 8 teams, and that's not ideal, but the reality is it's going to be the 8 strongest teams that have been around from a financial and a setup place where they can actually play in front of 2,500, 3,000, or as the Empire Striker did last year, over 7,000 fans.
And that's the idea, right? It's about stability for this league and about putting the best product forward that they can. Just to remind everybody, the 8 teams for the 2025-2026 season are the Empire Strikers, San Diego Sockers, St. Louis Ambush, Milwaukee Wave, Tacoma Stars, Baltimore Blast, Utica City FC, and the Kansas City Comets. And there's a lot of history in those 8 teams, that's for sure. Tim, I also wanted to mention real quick, we're going to talk about the next few matches from last season as we begin to look back on the 2024-2025 season. But I do want to remind everybody, the home opener coming up Friday, December 12th, it's not too far off, and the 12-match season ticket plans are now up live on Tixr. That's Tixr. It's just $429 to get a platinum, which is the first 2 rows of the lower bowl at Toyota Arena. $429 to get a platinum seat for all 12 matches. $349 for the silver, and $349 for the premium, which is the lower bowl, and $229 per ticket, 12 matches to get into Toyota Arena for the silver, the upper bowl. And every season ticket, Tim, comes with a 15% discount on merch, a Strykers welcome pack, access to the VIP and private entrance. You and I don't even get that when we head over to Toyota Arena. Got to be a season ticket holder for that. The private parking lot, the lounge, the behind-the-scenes tour of Toyota Arena prior to the home opener. And by the way, when you purchase 2 or more season tickets, you get a signed Empire Strykers soccer ball. So just want to put that out there for everybody. Season tickets are now on sale over at Tixr, Tixr. Let's talk about the next few matches in last season. We talked about the first 3 last episode, and the Strykers were able to make it back-to-back wins, 10-5, with the result in Texas in their 4th match of the season, getting to double digits, and that started to become what we would see from Coach Obasi's side.
Yeah, and this was really the breakout game of last season, so that you knew that they were going to play really well in Coach Obasi's system. They understood how to use the true 6th attacker in their goalkeeper, and they understood that they were going to have to backtrack and get on defense very, very quickly when there was a turnover. You just couldn't lollygag and just expect, a Roscoe or anybody else that was between the sticks to save your bacon and keep them off the score sheet. They knew that they were going to have to backtrack. And this was one of the big games that really set the tone for the rest of the season, Scarf.
Well, and by the way, that week, because of that performance, the 10-5 win, you get Emmanuel Aguirre being named Defensive Player of the Week in MASL, and Justin Stinson being named Offensive Player of the Week. Yeah. So you see the honors for these guys, and that wouldn't be the first time, or excuse me, the last time, I should say, that Empire would make those honorables.
It was the first time of last season.
Yep. It helps if I could read my show notes. That would be helpful. What would have been helpful in their next match number 5 of the season, unfortunately, would have been more goals against San Diego Sockers. And that would be the case for much of the season. They fell 4-3 in a good old-fashioned defensive battle in the MASL. Tim, you have watched a lot of indoor soccer. You know how hard it is to have a defensive battle out there. So what does that say when 2 teams are able to have a 4-3 like that?
I think it makes it fun. We're used to seeing goals come in bunches, 5 at a time, 5 1/4, 5 in 5 minutes type of thing. But to see a good old-fashioned, I wouldn't call it a Donnybrook, but a good old-fashioned street fight inside of 200 by 80, and to be able to see something like that makes it fun for the fans, because now it's just not a light in the lamp game all night long. It's actually, hey, we're going to fight you tooth and nail. And that's what they ended up doing a lot of the times, especially against the Sockers later on in the season.
Yeah, and they would turn the score around 4-3 in their next match against Tacoma. Of course, Marco Fabian with the hat trick there against Tacoma. So that 4-3 scoreline, this time they're on the right side of things. Brian Orozco looked incredible, right? I think he had, nine saves in the match. It was an incredible match for Brian Orozco. We would see that a few times from him. And it didn't hurt, Tim, that they were going up against their keeper from the previous season, Chris Toth, who, by the way, wonderful human being, just not when you're playing against him in indoor soccer.
Yeah, the guy's a legend inside of the MASL and indoor soccer as a whole. And it's fun to watch your prior goalkeeper go down, especially when Marco gets the hat trick and just does it in fine fashion. And to beat Tacoma right after a tough loss to the Sockers, again, it gave the boys a lot of confidence going forward for the rest of the season.
Yeah. Talking about some defensive battles, let's switch on over, Tim, to Angel City FC. It was a defensive battle, and to be honest, while it's a little late in the season to take moral victories, when the Kansas City Current come in at 18-2-2 on the season and have just been bulldozing teams left and right, for Angel City to only, I'll say, lose this one 1-0, even though it was at home in front of all their crowd at BMO Stadium, They played really well, created a lot of chances. Kennedy Fuller looked good in limited minutes late. Hana Sugita looking good in her first minutes for Angel City. You had Jonsdottir and June Endo. I mean, you got a performance that you almost feel like, Tim, should have been better than the 1-0 loss.
It should have been a much different result. I agree with you there, Scarf. When you command 65% of the possession and you do put 4 shots on frame, 15 total shots launched. When you have 15 launched, though, you got to put more than 4 on frame. And I get it. It's professional soccer. They're the best soccer, women's soccer in the world. You've got to put more on frame, or at least the highest level here in the United States, right? The Premier League for the women, right? But when you and they said it in the post-game presser, you heard multiple players say, "We're frustrated by this. We should have won." That's the attitude that Coach Alex Strauss was looking for. That I believe perhaps was not there in such a manner as they would come out and say it. Hey, they would come out earlier in the year and they perhaps would say, we're frustrated, we lost, whatever. They came out and they said, gosh darn it, we lost and this sucks. We should have won. And they should have. They should have had at least one goal, and it should have been no less than a draw against the top team in the league.
And by the way, that top team, Kansas City Current, scoring on their only shot on target of the match. How about Angel City being able to keep them without a shot, period, in the first half? 45 minutes, not shot on target, shot, period. Couldn't even get one, couldn't even get a shot off in the first 45 minutes. And yet they go all the way to the hour mark, the 60th minute, before getting a shot on target. Unfortunately, this Current were able to put that one in the back of the net. Let's talk about their next match at BMO against the Houston Dash. And there's not a lot of margin for error anymore with Angel City. If they're going to make the playoffs, they need a 3-match win streak. And honestly, they need some help as well as that 3-match win streak. But this one, Tim, a good old-fashioned 6-pointer as Houston sits 3 points above them in the standings. They got to run the table, even though they've lost 4 of 5. Going into this match against Houston, Tim, what do you got to do to circle the wagons if you're Angel City?
I think the biggest thing that the Angel City team has to do is go out and fire shots on frame. It doesn't matter if they're from 25 yards out or they're from 5 yards out. You got to put them on frame. I think the defensive battle that they put up against Kansas City is one of their best defensive matches of the entire year. It's far exceeded most everything else. The possession was there, the passing was there. They have to finish. And if Angel City really is gonna make any chance of a run and not have their playoff hopes dashed by Houston, they're going to have to do it, and they're going to have to win this game, and they're going to have to score within the first half hour. If they don't score within the first half hour, Houston's going to come in and they're going to take care of business and they're going to beat Angel City.
Playoff hopes dashed. I see what you did there by the Houston Dash. You mentioned the defense was there. The intensity was there. But let me ask you about something that wasn't there. Last Monday's loss to the Kansas City Current, Tim, in front of 11,147. Monday, a couple of Mondays ago, there was a win over Bay FC, just under 15,000. Their draw to the Spirit on a Thursday was just over 15,000. This is a club that has averaged somewhere in the 19,000s in their first 3 years. We're talking just Portland Thorns and San Diego are averaging those kind of numbers. But here we are, year 4. And look, we've talked about it quite a bit, right, Tim? Alyssa Thompson, she's gone. Fan favorite Alana Kennedy, gone. Fan favorite Emma Vignola, gone. These players, Allie Riley, soon to be gone. Who knows if she's going to be able to get out there on the pitch one last time so she can get her flowers before she goes. Kristen Press, a shell of herself. Sydney LaRue, a shell of herself. There's a big makeover that has already started under Alex Strauss, obviously, but coming in the offseason. But what does it mean, Tim, that they had just 11,147 in the building when the best team in the league, 18-2-2, Kansas City Current, comes a-calling?
I think it means a couple of things. There's a lot more things to do on a Monday here in LA. And I think an Angel City game on a Monday in LA, it's tough to get to. So the number I'd really like to see is how many walk-ups you had, non-season ticket holders you had come to that game. Because I can bet you $1 that 30% of season ticket holders didn't show up to that game because it's a Monday. NWSL has to figure something out and figure out a day that they can own, whether it's Sunday morning, Sunday early afternoon when you're going up against, the Jets and Baltimore that's going to draw 50 people on TV. NWSL cannot be putting people on Thursday night games and then have them come back and play on a Monday in LA the next week. That is not good for the league. And I know that timing on TV is cramped and crowded with every football game being on, but NWSL has got to figure it out, and they got to figure it out soon.
Yeah, look, not enough matches in the season for Angel City to hold anything back anymore. Sunday, October 12th at BMO Stadium against the Houston Dash. Angel City needs to put it all out there in order for them to really have a shot. We mentioned it. They have to run the table. They have to win their final 3 matches, and it is going to be very, very difficult. But what we're hoping for is at BMO Stadium for it to be a raucous 18, 19, 20,000 fans there to at least cheer these girls on over their last couple of matches. And look, get out there and support Giselle, right? Support Kennedy Fuller, support all these Riley Tiernan. I mean, there are some fantastic players on this squad. Hannah Sugita, who looks great. I mean, we've got almost a third of the starting Japanese national team on Angel City right now. So that should be
Endo playing.
Yeah.
Getting
Endo,
back into game shape. I mean, Endo's been looking very strong their last few games. And it's not that they're a poor team. They're just having poor results.
Yeah, that's for sure. All right, well, let's get in. You're wearing the shirt. We're ready. I see the orange. You're ready to go. Orange County Soccer Club. Not a great showing, unfortunately, at home against the El Paso Locomotive. They needed a little something more than a 0-0 draw, Tim.
They did, but I will tell you it was a clean sheet, and it was a result in their favor. So I've got to give them props for that. It's been a while since they've had a clean sheet. Colin Shuttler is back in really good form, so he played well. They're still sitting 2 points out of a window. Phoenix lost over the weekend too, so the County boys are still in a very strong position, but very much like what Angel City is. Orange County has got to get minimum of 2 wins out of these next matches. They got 3 at home. They got a couple, they got a couple of more at home, and it's time to go home, have some good home cooking, have some biscuits and gravy, and then start sticking some of those biscuits in the other guy's basket and put some balls in the net. There were good chances against El Paso, and they just couldn't connect and couldn't finish.
Yeah, just one shot on target, unfortunately, against the Locomotive. Cameron Dunbar, Ethan Zubak both had solid opportunities, but you're definitely looking for more than just one shot on target. Colin Shuttler there with his 5th clean sheet of the season. But you mentioned it, 3 home matches remaining. But first, they've got to head to New Mexico United, number 3 in the West. This is their last away match. Incredibly important that they get 3 points on the road. But you mentioned it, they're only 2 points out of a playoff spot. The incredible part, Tim, only 2 points out of a playoff spot, only 4 points out from hosting a playoff match, and only 5 points out from dead last in their division. So it is as cramped, and as there's so much parity in that USL Championship Western Conference for sure. Let me ask you first real quick, what did it mean that Tyson Espy, the 16-year-old kid, he got his first home minutes? So they're in Great Park and Championship Park there. What does it mean that the 16-year-old kid is able to play at home for the first time?
You could see it on his face. It just meant everything to him. It meant a lot to the home crowd that was there. because when you're seeing a 15-year-old kid go out there who's just a stud, knowing that he's going to play for you for at least a couple of years and just grow and then potentially go on and do bigger, better things, just like what Orange County wants these kids to do. I think it was magical for him to go out there and play in meaningful minutes for 15 of them, right? And go out there and get in and potentially help the team win. I think it's great for the club. I think it's great for him.
Yeah, look, you're absolutely right. Meaningful minutes, right? This isn't just him getting shoved in at the end of a match. This is, hey, preserve the 0-0 shutout, because that's what we need you to do, Tyson, for sure. Right. You mentioned Colin Schuttler. Well, I think when we get to our best 11, which is coming up right here next, we might see a little bit of Colin Schuttler from OCSC, that shutout you mentioned. Couple of saves, his 5th of the season. So let's get in to the best 11. And Tim, you mentioned Colin Schuttler and his clean sheet for Orange County Soccer Club. Well, we're going to see him on our best 11, our favorite segment that we do here, bringing the best 11 players from all of these 5 teams that we cover. Of course, Galaxy, Orange County Soccer Club, Angel City, and LAFC all in action this week. Colin Schuttler in goal for Orange County for his work against El Paso, and an actual 4-3-3, Tim. I like it. 4 defenders on the back line, 3 of them from LAFC. Eddie Segura for his performances against both Atlanta and Toronto, and Nkosi Tafari for his performance against Toronto, Ryan Porteous for his performance against Atlanta, and Evelyn Shores of Angel City for her performance against the Current. An excellent defensive performance there by Evelyn. In the midfield, all 3 coming from LAFC for their performance against Toronto: Timothy Tillman, Mark Delgado, and Frankie Amaya. Amaya scoring a goal in the LAFC versus Toronto match, so that's where he was able to get a spot on best 11. And the forwards, Denis Bawanga for his work against Atlanta, will be wearing the captain's armband. I was kind of hoping it might go to either Jeremy Abobasi or Diego Fagundes. Jeremy for his goal against Toronto, and Diego for joining the 79-79 club, which doesn't quite have the same ring to it as 80-80, but he's getting close. Let me ask you, Tim, who stands out here in the best 11 for you?
Not to go total homer, but Colin Schuttler actually did stand out for me a little bit more than the other guys. Right next to him is Jeremy Abobasi, just because Abobasi does have to handle some of the load over the next few games, as with Sonny and Denis are gone. Abobasi and some of these other guys are going to really have to step up. And Abobasi did. Frankie Amaya did for LAFC. And if they want to they potentially can secure that second seed in the West, and they're really going to have to continue that stepping up over the next 2-3 games, and even into those first couple of rounds of the playoffs. So those 2 guys really stood out to me.
Yeah, Frankie Amaya, the local boy, getting his first goal in an LAFC shirt. That was really nice to see here at BMO Stadium for that match against Toronto. And I do want to mention Ryan Porteous. Ryan Porteous has been a revelation for LAFC on the back line. When Aaron Long went down, it was a little bit of the sky is falling. It took Steve Cherundolo and company a couple of matches to figure out the best tactics on that back line, and boy, have they figured it out. Nkosi Tafari's play has been remarkable over these last several matches. Ryan Porteous has looked great. And I do want to mention the old man on that back line who's been here since almost the beginning, Eddie Segura. I mean, he's playing that hybrid role, Tim, where he's kind of moving in between midfield and the back line. Sometimes it's a back line of 5, sometimes it's a back line of 3. But it's been Eddie Segura who has done an absolutely wonderful job in all of those different roles that he has been asked to play. That's for sure. Tim, it has been a fun one. We got to chat with our friends Rob and Ananda. A fantastic interview with Chandler Hoffman, the NISA Commissioner. And look, that's why they call this the fastest paced soccer show in SoCal. This has been Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System. Who needed Denis Bawanga on this one? Who needed Son Heung-min? This was a fun one regardless. Timmy, it was great to be on with you again, my friend. And let's come back and do this again next week. What do you say?
I'm in, JR, man. I'm all about it. It was a fun one. I like this a lot. I like this one a lot. We didn't have to get too nutty on Gunner this week, so that's always it's fun. But he put together a nice best 11 for us this year.
He did a great job. Once again, this has been Soccer in 60, brought to you by SAC Health System.